All right. Hey, what's up, guys? Jesse here, and I'm excited that you are checking out this brief overview of the Tax-Free Retirement Workshop. I'm a wealth strategist and a team leader with the 818 Financial team, part of the Duval Financial Group. You don't care about any of that at all, but I want to just help you understand very quickly what our philosophy and value proposition is, because you have to understand when you see what we're about to show you, this is going to be very different than what you've probably seen or been exposed to by traditional money guys out there. We have a three-part philosophy that really separates us and sets up this type of a play. So the first is just simply principal protection. Most money guys out there, for the most part, only sell people products where they could lose money. We don't do that. We believe that you work way too hard for your money to go out there and gamble. We believe that there are too many things coming against our wealth, like inflation and taxes, and that you and I want to be the best stewards possible of our money. So we focus on helping people become more efficient and by removing unnecessary exposures to risk and loss. We know that there are legal tax-free growth strategies out there. We try to maximize those wherever possible. Obviously, you're looking at the tax-free retirement accounts here. And so that's going to be a main focus. There are other ways outside of this specific play to reduce or eliminate taxes in the future as well. And a big one is we hate people paying unnecessary management fees. I could really unpack that a whole bunch. But the reality is, if you are paying 2 or 3% per year for 30 or 40 years to your money guy, that really adds up. And that is a huge place where people are having a lot of inefficiencies. Anything we may help you with, you are never going to pay us a penny for that. And we can definitely get into more of how that works a little bit later. But so what is it that most people do for retirement and why? The reality is, what you and I know as quote unquote traditional retirement is actually not very traditional. It's only been around for the past 50 years at the time of this recording. Back in 1974, the government got in bed with Wall Street and they came up with something called the Employee Retirement Income Securities Act. And all of the alphabet soup that came out of that were 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, et cetera. And the reality is, those are all different types of qualified retirement plans. Now, what is the advantage? They are convenient, right? Money just comes straight out of your paycheck. It's out of sight, out of mind. I'm not knocking them and saying that there's no value in them. But what I would suggest is, if you and I were to look back more than 50 years ago, people, for the most part, had way better retirements in play. What did a lot of people have back then? A lot of people had pensions. They were known as defined benefits. I worked for this company for this many years. I get X amount of income the rest of my life. The reality is, before 1974, and again, what we know as qualified or traditional retirement plans, people did not worry about outliving their money. You didn't see 80-year-old Walmart greeters back in the 50s and 60s. It's a very different time and era. And although a lot, like many government programs, although these were pitched to us as being great for the employee, the reality is they were great for the employer, and they were great for your money guy, and they were great for Wall Street, and they were great for the government, because all of these different letters and numbers are simply tax codes. And essentially what the average American worker is doing when they're taking advantage of these qualified retirement plans is they are entering, you and I, we are entering into contractual agreements with the government where we promise to pay an unknown future tax burden that the government can change the terms on anytime they want to without yours or mine consent. And so challenges aren't just unknown future tax complications. We also talked about unnecessary management fees. The reality is, in just a couple minutes, we're going to talk about the question of, well, why hasn't my money guy told me about this? I mean, the reality is, it just has to do with financial incentive. There are way too many people who make way too much money based upon the average working American not knowing about this play. But again, also, most traditional retirement plans are all market-based plans. While there can be advantages over the long term to using the market, the reality is a lot of people have gotten caught off guard many times throughout the past 50 years because they didn't understand about exposure to market losses, and especially in the early years of retirement when they start taking distributions. And also, with these qualified retirement plans, if you try touching your money before you're 59 and a half currently, you have to deal with not just taxes, but also extra penalties for early withdrawals as well. And so most people give up liquidity and control of their money and miss out on many other future opportunities they could take advantage of. So again, so then what would the advantages of a tax-free retirement account be? Well, it's kind of all the opposite. You're going to see and understand there are contractual guarantees where your money is protected, where you don't have exposure to market losses. What that allows you to do is create uninterrupted compounding growth. And of course, if it's tax-free, that's even better. And then also having liquidity and control where you don't have those early access penalties. And there's also a legacy wealth transfer feature to this that, again, we're going to look at a couple of specific examples in just a minute that's going to really prove and back up and validate everything that we're talking about. Did you know that less than 1% of the population currently has one of these set up and working for them properly? But more than 50% of working Americans have one of these highly taxable qualified retirement accounts in play. See, one thing that I believe in, but has nothing to do with this, just much bigger picture, is if we're doing what the masses are doing, we're probably doing something different. And the reality is, of that less than 1% who take advantage of these tax-free retirement accounts, the vast majority of them are in the ultra wealthy category. Now, great news, you don't have to be ultra wealthy to take advantage of this, but just like many other tax advantages, the reality is many of the ultra wealthy are super wise financially, and they do everything they can to legally pay as little in taxes as possible. And that's why many of them love this play right here. And so why is it that your money guy hasn't told you about this? It could be many options. Some honestly, they just don't know about this. One thing I say all the time about retirement planners is when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And by and large, the solution that many money guys out there are offering are all market-based products where they make management fees. Assets under management is their name of their game. And it doesn't mean they're bad people. But again, it's very hard to get the average person to give you advice that financially impacts them negatively. If you're 35 years old, you might have your money with a traditional money guy for the next 50 or 60 years. And he's probably taking 2 or 3% a year off the top of that. Think about that. That can be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout your lifetime. He's not heavily incentivized to tell you other plays outside of what he can help you with. Okay. Even guys who know about these usually don't understand how to do it the right way, because there are very specific steps you need to take if you want the tax-free access to your money. And or sometimes the firms or the corporations they're a part of don't even allow them to offer this to their clients. Okay. So what is it? What is a TFRA, a tax-free retirement account? This is a mouthful, but it is super important. All of these words. It is a properly structured, high cash value, overfunded, permanent life insurance product. You're like, life insurance? Yes, life insurance. That is exactly what I said. The average person absolutely does not understand life insurance, or really insurance just in general. The insurance part is so important for the tax-free access and growth of your money. Think about it. If you get in a car accident and Geico sends you a check, Uncle Sam doesn't tax it. If a storm hits your house and you need to get your roof repaired and State Farm sends you a check, Uncle Sam doesn't tax it. That same tax benefit and protection extends to the arena of life insurance. Now, not all life insurance carriers or products are created equally. In order to do this, you need the right carrier, you need the right product, and you need the right structure. Even within the world of life insurance agents, the vast majority either do not know how to do this or they will not do this. And this is important because just like the traditional money guys, a life insurance agent, in order to do this the right way so that you can see the numbers I'm about to show you in a second, we literally have to cut our commissions by 70%. That is not an exaggeration. Now, I'm not trying to sound like a saint, but our team, I could get into my longer story in a one-on-one meeting of how I wound up in this space, but I specifically got into this space to help families take advantage of these tax advantage plays. Our family, I'd heard about this for several years. Honestly, I was skeptical. And then I finally read a book called What Would the Rockefellers Do? A little over 3 years ago. It all clicked. It all made sense. And we started implementing this play. And I started having some conversations and very quickly realized that almost everybody I knew, when I would talk to them, they knew that there had to be something more out there than just simply work for your employer and have a 401k. Side note, having a 401k again can be a great thing. Most people have some form of qualified funds sitting out there with a former employer, right? Most people have worked more than one job and they go from one job to the next, and you have old 401k money out there. Those funds need to stay inside of a qualified retirement plan if you want to avoid the early withdrawal penalties and tax consequences. There's a whole separate play from this that we refer to as a zero floor, zero fee account. You can upgrade old 401ks in a completely different way. It cannot be rolled directly into a tax-free retirement account, just to be very clear. Like, full transparency, I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2007. I don't have any money in qualified retirement plans, although I help many folks upgrade their accounts, again, remove unnecessary fees and exposure to losses. But for these properly structured high cash value policies, this is where our family builds wealth, because not only is it tax-free growth and access, but it's also liquid. I'm only 41 at the time of this recording. I have many other things and priorities I want to do. I don't want to sit around and wait till I turn 60 to be able to touch my money. So we're going to look at two real life scenarios. Okay. So first, we're going to meet Jane. She's a 29-year-old female. So we're going to look at both ends of the spectrum. You might be seeing this and saying, well, I'm not a 29-year-old female. That's okay. You can be male, you can be older, and this still works. We'll look at that in a second. But first, the reality is the younger you are when you start this, just the better it gets. Why? Because you have more time on your side for uninterrupted compounding. And so I want to show you what can happen. Jane, she's just going to put a modest $600 a month aside. This can be done with a lower contribution. I've helped people set these up for $100 a month. Okay. It can be done with lower numbers, but I just want to show you what would happen if Jane starts putting $600 a month into this through the age of 65. So you'll see here on the left-hand side there, that shows $7,200 per year, right? $600 times 12, that's the $7,200 per year. And I want you to see this very first distinction again. The younger you are, the better this gets, but it's not just because of the growth. So again, unlike a qualified retirement plan where if Jane starts putting money in that, she's not going to be able to touch it till she's 59 and a half, right? Check out now what she has access to. In that first year, she has access to more than $4,600 of cash value. And if, God forbid, Jane were to pass early, her beneficiaries would have a $285,000 death benefit. That would not happen with a 401k, IRA, etc. I'm not saying those are bad things, but I'm trying to help you understand the advantages here with it. Now, she's going to do that every year through the age of 65. Let's fast forward now to retirement and see what that looks like for Jane. So you'll see now that she's no longer, you see all those zeros in that column on the left, she's no longer paying premiums into this. But look over here on the right, she now has well over $650,000 of cash value. By the way, you have to understand this. When you're using these A-rated whole life insurance carriers, mutual insurance carriers, the reality is they have an incredible track record. You don't have the exposure to losses. You see growth consistently. Like, we look at a super extreme example of the Great Depression. Do you know that 90% of the stock market was wiped out then? I'm not trying to doom and gloom. I'm not trying to cause fear and sensationalize or anything like that. What I'm trying to do is show you by example, though, is 40% of banks closed, 90% of the stock market was wiped out. It took 28 years for your money to recover if you had money in the market at the start of the Great Depression. And every A-rated mutual life insurance carrier, they pay dividends and profits to their policyholders year after year after year like that. So you'll see not only does she have well over $650,000 tax-free, but she also has a $1.2 million death benefit. And check this now. She is 65 or 66 now, no longer paying a life insurance premium, but has $1.2 million of death benefit tax-free locked in. This is super powerful. And while it doesn't show this on this page, I ran the numbers. She can access more than $30,000 per year tax-free all the way through age 65, past age 100, with no fear of that money running out. And let's just say that she wound up having other retirement sources and never even wound up accessing this money and just let it sit and grow. She only put $259,000 into it, and you would see with an average life expectancy of 90 years old, she would have almost $2.5 million tax-free that would wind up passing to her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc. You have to think beyond the day-to-day, the week-to-week, the month-to-month. When you start thinking decade to decade, generation to generation, this becomes even more powerful. But again, let's just say for argument's sake, you never did any of that. Like I said, set $600 a month, starting at age 66, she can withdraw over $30,000 a year tax-free the rest of her life. Remember how we talked about old school retirement plans that were pensions, right? Defined benefits, guaranteed incomes. That's what you can create for yourself with all the tax advantages on it as well. So let's say you're not a 29-year-old female. What if you're a man in your 50s? Okay. Now the reality is, if you might have to do some catch up. Maybe you haven't done a lot of retirement planning yet. So we're going to show you what 50-year-old Frank can do here. Is he starts putting about 50 grand a year in annually, starting at age 51. Okay. And that's about $4,000 a month. Now again, we have clients that do 10 times this, literally 10 times this. And again, we have clients who do $100 or $200 a month. You can do this at any income range. Okay. But we're just showing, hey, Frank, he hasn't really planned for retirement, but he has some disposable income and he wants to start supercharging his tax-free retirement account. So you see that $50,000 per year goes in. He's going to do this from age 50 through age 70. So for 20 years. Okay. Now, again, notice in that first year, he has $29,000 of liquid cash and almost $1 million of death benefit starting out the gates with this, where again, if God forbid something happened, this is going to work out way better for him than just throwing it into a market-based IRA, okay? But now let's fast forward to age 70, and you'll see he's no longer paying into his policy. So he did 50,000 for 20 years. That's $1 million that he put into it. And now you'll see that he's got over 1.5 million tax-free cash sitting there. This is super important. If he wanted to start accessing over $100,000 per year tax-free, his money would last him past age 100 in this example here. And again, there's a huge death benefit there that happens. What if he wound up, doing well in other areas? He might have close to a $5 million death benefit. And what's really great about this is you have to understand is any cash value access while you're alive, that just deducts out of the death benefit amount. So you see down there, he's got that $4.993 million death benefit at age 90. Well, if he had access to $2 million of cash value, that would just deduct out. So in this example, he could say he pulled $2 million out. He put $1 million in. He pulled $2 million out tax-free to enjoy for his retirement and left an additional $3 million in that scenario to his beneficiaries. This is a way to, again, remember that word I shared earlier about efficiency? This is a way that is totally legal, that has been done for well over 100 years in our country by many of the ultra wealthy. And you and I can do it and can access it, can embrace this and leverage it for our families. My family's been doing this for 3 years now personally, and we have helped hundreds of clients do that over the past 3 years also. But what's awesome is it's individualized. There's so much strategy that you can bring to this. And the more you grow and learn, the more empowered you are to use and implement this for your family. So where do you go from here? Again, this was just a very broad stroke overview. Everything I shared is generally accurate, but of course it's not specific to your circumstances. So the most important thing you can do is whoever invited you to check this video out on our 818 financial team, set a time, have a free wealth strategy session with them so you can customize your plan. Write down your questions. There's many more resources. I mentioned about what would the Rockefellers do. We have several recorded trainings that we can get you access to help you grow your financial IQ. Because at the end of the day, you're the one, your family is the one who's going to live with the consequences of our either growth of financial education or lack of financial education and implementation. And we believe that the more that we empower you with and equip you with to go out there and make better choices for your future, the more control and the more security you can have about your financial future going forward. So thank you so much for checking this out. Be sure to get back with the wealth strategist who shared this video with you or the client who shared this with you so they can get you in touch with us. And we'd love to talk to you, answer your questions, and help you find the best plan for your family moving forward. God bless you and have a great day.